Alright, what is going on, my dudes? So we're back here today with another new champ breakdown, and as per usual, we've highlighted everything that you need to know. So, we're jumping in with the champion that many people have wanted in the game for a very long time, Spider-Man 2099. So, Miguel O'Hara, man, he's finally enjoying the game, so let's jump right in. The guy looks pretty cool, pretty interesting. Let's just jump right in. We'll talk about it as we go along, all right? So, Miguel O'Hara, a brilliant geneticist from the year 2099, and goes through a series of incidents that culminate with him having his genetic code spliced with the DNA of a spider. He gains several spider-related powers similar to the original Spider-Man, like superhuman agility, strength, and wall crawling. However, his powers are slightly different from the original. He can organically create his own webs, and he has retractable claws, and instead of spider sense, he has a hyper-accurate vision, which is so powerful that it essentially works as an early warning system. So, he's basically Spider-Man, but different, but also the same. Cool, man. Spider-Man 2099 mechanics. So, Spider-Man 2099's lights and medium attacks inflict rupture on the opponent, and those ruptures explode in bursts of damage. Then the opponent gains a bar of power. That's probably when the opponent gains a bar of power. Additionally, his special attack 2 inflicts a burst of damage for every unique debuff on the opponent. When he gains a buff, he pauses his personal debuffs on the opponent for a few seconds. As a result, he can stack many debuffs on the opponent and use dexterity to trigger a buff to pause his debuffs. This means he can keep his debuffs paused until he reaches special attack 2. Kind of like, for example, I feel like a lot of spiders have this kind of thing, right? Starkey has the poise charges, and when he dexes, right, you gain the poise charge. Stealthy, when he dashes back, he pauses his fury and precision, right? So it kind of goes along with the spider theme, I feel like. So let's move on here to his abilities, okay? Let's go like this. There we go. Make it look all nice and pretty, beautiful. So, abilities. This is kind of interesting. I found this very interesting, man. Spidey cannot gain buffs, kind of like Red Guardian, okay? Whenever he would gain a buff, he instead pauses his personal debuffs for 5 seconds. While dodging backwards, Spider-Man 2099 is not struck by attack. Dodging an attack this way triggers his debuff pausing ability. It's interesting to me how they, kind of called out his ability mechanics that whenever you gain a buff, right, you will pause the debuffs or whatever, but he can't gain buffs. But yeah, gain 75% damage resistance if the opponent is under the effect of True Strike or if the hit deals true damage. That's a decent bit of damage resistance, man. So he's one of those. He's one of those. The champs that counter Corvus and whatnot, if you have True Strike up, right? But yeah, he's one of those. So Rupture, 20 stacks. Light and medium attacks have a 25% chance to inflict Rupture, dealing 500 physical damage over 10 seconds. 100% chance to inflict Rupture on a block if the opponent is suffering from a Wither debuff. More on that later. An opponent takes a burst of 758 physical damage for each Rupture on them if they reach 0 power or when they gain a bar of power. Ruptures are consumed after this effect takes place. That's interesting, man. It's very interesting right there, I think. And look at this. Developers know striking into the block of an opponent suffering from the Wither debuff, more on that later, is the most reliable way to inflict lots of Rupture. And Mike's note, what's up, Kabam Mike? This is the first time we've seen the Wither debuff as part of a champion's kit. It reduces ability accuracy rate, ability power rate, and Spidey 2099 got a very strong one. Interesting, man. So, heavy attacks inflict an exhaustion debuff, decreasing critical damage rating by 65 for 15 seconds, max 5 stacks. Resistance up. This is a very interesting ability here, man. So, when attacked, there is a 100% chance to gain an indefinite resistance up passive, increasing physical resistance by 87.5 and energy resistance by 56. Interrupting Spider-Man 2099 while he is charging a heavy attack removes all resistance up stacks. If at least 20 stacks are removed this way, he inflicts a Wither debuff, reducing ability power rate by 150% for 20 seconds. When Spider-Man 2099 pauses his own personal debuffs, he consumes 5 stacks of the resistance up and increases the pause duration by 5 seconds. This effect has a 10-second cooldown. As an attacker, resistance up is better used as a resource that helps to increase the duration of the debuff pauses. It is usually not worth saving for its defensive value. So, it's a really interesting ability here where it kind of works as a currency on offense, but as resistance on defense, right? So, it looks like it's going to be really tanky and annoying to fight on defense, man. Like, really annoying. Right off the bat, I feel like Archangel's going to be really good for him. Just kind of like rip through him. You know, nothing really stopping Archangel. Just throwing it out there. But it looks like as the fight goes on, unless you interrupt his heavy attack, it's going to pretty much just keep building resistance. And then if you do interrupt his heavy attack and you take a hit on the block, a medium or a light, you're going to get ruptures on you. So it's really looking like, I don't know, man, you want to get him down as fast as possible with some damage over time, it's looking like. But we'll have to see, man. But let's go on to some special attacks now. Raging Claws. Last 3 hits have a 100% chance to inflict physical vulnerability debuff, decreasing physical resistance by 233 for 15 seconds, max 15 stacks. So that's going to be good for increasing the rupture damage. On activation, gain 15 stacks of resistance up passive, increasing physical resistance by 87 and energy resistance by 56. So that gives you some currency. This special provides enough stacks to allow Spidey to extend his debuffs for up to a total of 30 seconds. More than enough time to reach Special 2 with many pause debuffs. Special 2, on activation, inflicts the Wither debuff, reducing ability power rate by 150% for 15 seconds. Max 5 stacks. Whoa! Each hit deals a burst of 950 physical damage per unique debuff on the opponent. For example, the heavy attack puts the exhaustion, right? So I feel like the reason why we see the exhaustion debuff here is because of the Special 2. So yeah, also developers note, Special 2 is the biggest source of damage for Spidey, provided that the opponent is suffering from lots of debuffs. This attack also inflicts a Wither debuff, which allows Spidey to inflict rupture through blocks, increasing his damage even further. So kind of like Massacre, right, or Massacre, when you do like medium, light, back off into block, kind of the same thing. You're going to put those ruptures on the opponent. Pretty interesting stuff, man. So Special 3 is really interesting here. Inflict a stun debuff for 4 seconds, and also inflict a slow debuff lasting 25 seconds, reducing unstoppable and evade ability accuracy by 100% and preventing the effects of unstoppable. So a slow that activates on Special 3, in my opinion, is completely useless for the capabilities of being slow. It might as well be just a regular non-damaging debuff, in my opinion. So essentially, you know, there's going to be times when it's useful, don't get me wrong, for sure, but usually when you need slow, you need it right away. So She-Hulk and Spider-Gwen and Silver Centurion, for example, they get it right away on the heavy attack. Spidey, Stealth Spidey, right? Light ending combo, right away, kind of. Red Guardian, Special 1. Special 3 slow debuff, it's not really going to cut it when you need to prevent evade. For stuff like maybe like, I don't even know, man. Like, I would never choose a Special 3 slow debuff, especially when there's even, like, you know, Shang-Chi, right? Double medium. Yeah, it's just like, what this does for me is this essentially adds another debuff for the Special 2, is what it does. Plus, it gives you some potential utility. All right, so the SIG ability is actually pretty interesting here. Ruptures have an 80% chance to not be consumed when a burst of physical damage triggers. That is really good, because essentially how this guy works is you have all the ruptures, and then you push them above a bar of power or down to 0 power with the Special 2 or whatever, and then they, you know, kind of explode, kind of like Sasquatch in a way. However, then they go away. Here, they're going to keep taking the physical damage over time, while also continuing that physical damage that can keep going. So that's very interesting. And also, plus 25% combat power rate while the opponent is affected by a Wither debuff. That's actually really good. Plus 25% combat power rate is really good. Developers note, against a champion that has a power gain, Spider-Man 2099 can invert their power gain with Wither, hit them until they gain a bar of power, let the reverse power gain bring their power down, and then hit them back to a bar of power. This would allow you to trigger a lot more bursts of damage with Rupture than it would normally be possible. So that seems like it has a lot of potential, man. So we'll have to see. Now we have some synergies as well. Can I bring this up? Yes, I can. Some of these synergies are pretty darn good. So this one's interesting here. Gain 100% chance to evade the first time he is struck in a fight. This can be used for, like, for example, the heavy attack thing that you're doing, right? If you want to get rid of the physical resistance to put the Wither on the opponent, right? You can do that, and then you evade. So then you have that easy Wither up for pretty much, I don't know, a lot of the fight. Also for Spider-Man, Spider-Gwen, Spider-Ham, Miles Morales, gain an unstoppable passive for 1 second after an evade triggers. This effect has a 7-second cooldown. So that's, you know, pretty cool. That's going to be really good for Spider-Ham, by the way. Symbiote problems with Venom and Carnage. For Spider-Man, Special Attack 3 inflicts a poison debuff, dealing 85% of attack and direct damage and reducing health recovery by 30% over 25 seconds. What this does is it gives you another debuff for your Special 2, and it gives you, like, you know, a nice 4K poison debuff is essentially what it is. So nothing crazy there. Nothing crazy at all. But the extra debuff for the special 2 burst damage. So, also Venom on a heavy attack and an aptitude buff, increasing the effect of Fury, Armor, and Precision buffs by 50%. That's not too bad at all. Carnage and blockable specials gain plus 25% attack rating. That's really good for Carnage. All your specials are pretty much unblockable. With Starkey, Iron Man, and Scarlet Witch, second medium attacks have a 25% chance to trigger Spider-Man 2099 debuff pausing ability. That's pretty good, man. That's a pretty nice thing. That just helps you play a lot less stressfully with Spidey 2099. For Stark Enhanced Spidey on a well-timed block, 33% chance to gain a Bulwark passive, granting 700 block proficiency for 10 seconds. Not too bad, man. Not the best, but also not too bad. Increase that block proficiency a little bit. Scarlet Witch, when granting a buff on herself, gain 15% of a bar power over 3 seconds. That could be really good for her. And then Iron Man, heavy attack inflicts a power drain, removing 50% of the opponent's current power over 5 seconds. This effect has a 20-second cooldown. Still not going to use Iron Man. And then Coworkers with Sabretooth, Longshot, and Psylocke. So for Spidey, gain 85 critical rating per unique debuff on the opponent. Sabretooth, blocking an attack, has a 10% chance to grant a regen passive that heals 25% of the damage taken from the block over 25 seconds. And look, the Sig ability increases the ability accuracy of the Synergies. That's actually a really good one for Sabretooth. And then Longshot, I like this. When Longshot nullifies a regen buff, gain a regen buff, healing 5% of base health over 10 seconds. That's not bad at all, man. And then for Psylocke, attacking an opponent with 0 power reduces their defensive ability accuracy by 50%. That's really good for Psylocke. It's actually really, really good for Psylocke, man. Especially if she's a horseman as well. But yeah, I think Psylocke needs some more love, something to actually increase her damage. That's her biggest issue, in my opinion. But yeah, guys, that's Spidey 2099, fan favorite character, finally coming to the game. I think he looks pretty cool. I think he might have some potential. We're going to have to see, though. Not entirely sure. On paper, he looks okay. He looks a little stressful to play. He doesn't look like a champ that I would love to play, but we're going to have to see. We're going to have to test him out. And yeah, guys, that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it, drop your boy a big old like. Comment what you think about Spidey 2099 finally coming to the game in the comment section below. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any Spidey 2099 gameplay coming to you very, very soon. I'll be seeing you around.